Okay, and we're back. I don't know what happened during the uh procession of this podcast. Uh People watching this in the future won't know what I'm talking about. People here live, if there are anybody, will know what I'm talking about. So I guess we'll just start off here. We're here to review episode 21 of the Rurouni Kenshin anime. We are the Anime4ALL podcast. I am your host, the Game Hunter, with Spear Magic Helmet. Um
Hey, hey.
We're here to review part two of the almost called a referee of the night, but that's not what it is. The Meiji Swordsman romantic story. We're here to review part two, or
Part two.
Act Zero part two. So just a really quick refresher. We ended the last episode finding out that the doctor was in fact a she. Wasn't too hard to did.
Dwanana.
Hmm?
I said Dwanana. Like big plot twist.
Wasn't too difficult to take, considering that even though the voice was deep, it was kind of a little bit high pitched. Though I will say,
I knew.
huh?
I knew immediately. I could just tell by the voice actor.
Well, the voice actor kind of reminded me, and I don't know what. The funny thing is, you're probably gonna see it the moment I say these words. The voice was kind of familiar to the Japanese VA of Karapika from Hunter x Hunter. She kind of looks like him.
Oh, really?
She kind of looks like, I mean, probably not too much, but like I could see resemblance in terms of art style with those two. They kind of look similar. It's short, yellow hair. The only thing that's different between these two is, well, not the only thing, but one of the differences is that one is female and one's male. The other difference is eye color. I think Karapika's eye color is black normally, and it turns red when he gets angry. Hers is like emerald green or lime green, or it's green basically. But yeah, like Kenshin didn't know this apparently, and he pretty much finds this out. But pretty much the episode begins with we learn a little bit more about our mystery character, Mrs. Elder. We don't get it. I'm guessing her last name must be Elder, because we don't get her other name. But you pretty much like they have Kenshin and her have a talk about I guess why she's dressed up, like she dressed her up as a man. Um, what I initially thought was right. It's just that women don't hold positions at this time period. Higher than maybe a nurse or a house or a house or housewife. Almost a house mother. That would double negative there, but they don't really hold positions of power. And she says that where she comes from, women aren't trusted to do these types of things, which is a nice way to put out that they don't like women holding positions like doctors or firemen or whatever. They just don't. Typically, they don't let women do that. So she dresses as a woman. She dresses as a man, and apparently has traveled long enough for her to get some notoriety of what she's been doing. And shows up in Yokohama to help out. To help anybody who's sick. She's like a wandering doctor, which I think is like not an unheard of profession. Just a doctor that wanders around place to place. Kind of like what Kenshin's been doing up to this point in the story, which you find out later on that apparently he hasn't been wandering for long. Apparently, I mean, I'm jumping ahead here because we find at the end of the episode, at the very end, past the credits, that apparently this story was no more than like 5 days before he settled down with was settled in with staying with Kaoru. We also, again jumping ahead, they didn't need to do this, but I'm kind of glad they did. It kind of gave a reason for Kenshin's sudden change of heart at the very first episode when he was on his way out, but then suddenly decided to stay. Now, I say they don't need to do this because, like, I mean, Kenshin's a good guy, and she wanted him to stay, but they kind of gave a little bit of a reasoning for, I guess, why he had a sudden change of heart. Miss Elder tells him that the healing process is a little bit complicated. You need to actually settle in one spot for some time to get to be able to heal properly. Because he also bring up too the scar on his face. So far, it looks like two people in the show who are both doctors have made a connection to Kenshin's scar being connected to. Well, I mean, we kind of knew it was from his past, but like his scar and his body, the whole healing thing seems to be connected to something in his past that he is not letting go. So far, the blonde, this elder made asked him about it, and he just didn't, brushed over it. And Megumi kind of touches his face a little bit, but then doesn't really go any further than that. Kind of just like gets relieved after finding out that Kenshin can indeed smell. Because apparently, the whole idea that Kenshin could not smell the black tea was kind of concerning.
Bring that up a lot, but I don't understand like why they added that to the story. Do you?
But
I don't understand why the tea was such a big factor in the storyline.
it's not the tea;
Like
it was more of the.
like the fact that he couldn't smell it.
It was like I think it has something to do with his body. I guess I'm gonna say it here and now. I mean, I mentioned before that I was watching Rurouni Kenshin, the original version of this show, up to a certain point. Um, Before it, like when it ended and it kind of went on its own little detour. There's a story, a huge story thing. I'm not gonna say exactly, but I remember when we got to the end of when I got to the end of a certain point in the story, they keep mentioning that Kenshin is not letting go of something in his past, and apparently it has something to do with his scar. They make hints of it later on, leading up to that episode. They bring it up, and apparently it's a huge part of like, pretty much like the moment it leads up to the day that essentially he chooses to start wandering. Like the reason why he decided to start wandering. It's a part of like I think like a lot of the show. Pretty much, we hear about they allude to it a lot that Kenshin was a manslayer, and a lot of characters that show up bring this up all the time that Kenshin was a pretty much a murderer, quote unquote, for hire. His scars they keep bringing up, and Megumi brings up the tea thing and his smell. I think it has something to do with his body not healing appropriately, or something he's holding on to that's not allowing his body to heal. Because like even like Elder says that the healing process and the way the body processes stuff is like connected. Whatever reason, there's connection between the scar on Kenshin's face and how his body is like healing over the course of like the show. And apparently they make it also like the scar is also part of some bigger injury that Kenshin has that they don't really dive too much into. But the elder makes it seem like that the scar is a big part of an injury Kenshin hasn't let heal properly. Because both doctors in this case kind of like touched his face where his scar is. And even Kenshin kind of looks at the scar kind of like it's this like thing he has to bear. That's what it makes it seem like to me anyway. I knew a little bit more.
He does seem like he's like owning up to something with it.
I mean, here they really make it evident. That's why I haven't really said much about it, because I know a little bit about what's going on. There's some things I haven't said, but again, I don't know the full story. I only know a little bit of what the answer's at, and a part of the reason why I'm very upset that they never animated it, because like apparently it's very important. I remember like when I found out about it, people all over the internet were talking about like, how this is a very important part of the story for Kenshin, and I was like, oh, I can't wait, and it never happens. There's a part of the story I haven't seen yet, and it's something to do with something that happened related to that scar and the moments like the pretty much when he was the manslayer. Something is in the past that he hasn't let go yet. I know a little bit about what that is, but I don't know the full story yet. And it's been years in the making that I've been trying to. I've been like holding off, hoping that they were going to animate it. So here's hoping I don't have another situation where we get to before it and he stopped. Because I'm going to be so mad. I waited 10 plus years for them to do this, but it's like, we'll see. I hope that since we're getting season 2, that means that if they do decide to do one season 2, they'll do another season as well beyond that one for the other part of the story that never made it to the screens. I hope. But I guess backing up a little bit, Uh, let's use your notes really quick. I guess we gotta talk about the swordsman that's a fencer. I'm kind of glad that I now know that I actually my assumption was right that he might have been a fencer. His sword was just very unique, and also his sword play is also very unique, twisting and contorting his body. Um, Espelar, I think is how you pronounce his name. At the end of the last episode, we find out that they're gonna hire him. The evil doctor's gonna hire him to deal with Kenshin, so that way the doctor doesn't feel threatened to kill the wandering doctor that's in the town currently right now. He hires him, and then the guy that I guess is the swordsman's suitor or whatever, or not suitor but manager, I guess you could best way to put it. Pretty much says like he can do what you're asking, but he's gonna charge a lot. The doctor says like he just pulls out a bottle of smallpox. I just sat there. I was like, "Good
He
lord!"
pulls out a bottle of smallpox.
It's just like I want to I kind of want to like sit on this moment for a minute and talk about this and really get the severity of what he has in his pocket. This is a time period that smallpox didn't have a cure, so if you got it, you died.
That's an epidemic. The doctor could give it to himself even.
I wonder if well, no, he hasn't because he'd be dying right now. But like at this time period, there was no cure. It didn't get eradicated till like the 1900s, I think. I'm gonna wait. Let me look that up real quick before I start talking about my. When was smallpox eradicated? Let's see, almost 2 centuries after Jenner hoped that the vaccination. So declared free of this disease in May 8th, 1980. And I think we're like in 18 something, 1800 something, like right now in the story. Well, I mean in the story that Kitchen's telling.
The vaccine was developed in 1796.
Was this the first vaccine they made that didn't do anything, or?
First effective treatment for smallpox was the smallpox vaccine, which was developed by Edward Jenner in 1796. This vaccine involved inoculating individuals with a related virus called cowpox, which provided immunity to smallpox.
Let me look up in Japan. They brought up something in words that they kind of disappeared really quickly. I couldn't exactly read it. Let's see. It said the smallpox was brought to Japan in 6th century. There were many outbreaks in the Edo period, even during some Tokugawa shoguns. Oh well, in the year 735 to 736, there was a smallpox epidemic in Japan, killing approximately 1/3, around 1 million. Jeez. So here's the last bit. Like over the next several centuries, Japan continued to experience smallpox epidemics, but by the early part of the second millennium, smallpox had become endemic to the Japanese population, thus less just devastating during outbreaks. So the second millennium will be 2000? Wait. That's not right, is it? Oh, the second millennium ended in 2000. Okay. Huh. Okay. I mean, either way, this is a very dangerous disease, regardless. But yeah, he had it in his pocket, and he was gonna. He essentially said that the money's no problem because he could just make people sick, and he could charge whatever he needed to cover the cost. Uh, Corporate greed at its finest, in the form of a doctor with a well, not really white lab coat, but you know, could have had a white lab coat.
Why has it got to be about white?
The lab coat's white. Don't make this about race. I'm just talking about color on pieces of clothing.
God, if I feel like it's about race, then you should respect that. It should be valid.
I'm not trying to be that guy while we're alive. And he's laughing because he knows I caught him. But yeah, first he says that you know, he's got this bottle of guaranteed making people sick, and pretty much after that, Espelar ends up well, apparently he's the one that sent that note to the door last episode looking for Mr. Elder, but then Kenshin got it. Because apparently after Kenshin has his conversation with Mrs. Elder and he walks out because he says he can't stay in the same room with her since he knows that she's a lady now, he ends up walking out. Apparently, I didn't quite get this until after he stated it. The paper that he found in his hand, he forgot to give it to her. So I forgot that actually happened. Apparently, it was a point in time because later on that evening, early in the morning, very apparently late, Takamichi comes to get her, saying that I thought you would have known about the meeting this person at this time. Ends up rushing in the direction of where the meeting's supposed to be, and all of a sudden Espelar is there waiting, and he does his technique, his ultimate. Wait, I think I'm further your notes than I should be. Yeah, he what's that name of the technique? See here really quick. It's either in Spanish or French. I couldn't tell you what it is. You already passed that point. I guess we talked about this too. During the conversation, I think he even brought in your notes that he felt like that Elder and Kenshin were kind of the same because they kind of like they both like were like trying to change the world, even though they had like I guess past like their past was I guess a little bit murky, but they're trying to make the world a better place. You know, wearing masks. I think is what you said.
Kenshin's mask is a little more subtle, but the Rurouni persona that he puts on, we've seen it fall away and seen the true Kenshin underneath that a couple times. You know what I mean? And he's a very different person underneath, like, you know what I mean, drastically different. And so's Dr. Elder when she drops her, you know, her mask, and you see that she's not a man, you know. And Elder makes me think that she was also trying to come across as like, I don't know, maybe even an older man. But that drops away and you have a sweet, you know, not mysterious at all woman underneath. And so they both have that mask on that builds a persona for the world that enables them to live their life doing good in a world that wouldn't allow them to live their life doing good. If Kenshin was a manslayer, he wouldn't have the same life, and if she was a woman, she wouldn't be able to have the same life either. Like, they have to hide that. So Kenshin marries his manslayer and she hides the woman, and they get a lot done and are really respected, you know, to an extent that they wouldn't be able to be otherwise.
I'm sorry, when you said that she hides the woman, I was like, dear God, what did the woman do?
Well, in the same way that Kenshin buries the manslayer.
Yeah, I know. I was just in my mind. It was kind of funny phrasing. Ugh. I'm dying over here, apparently. I get Jimmy. So what was the name? Does he have the name of the technique here?
Is it a plot hole that Espilard isn't surprised when she comes in with medicine for him? He just knows that it's Dr. Elder, even though he hadn't seen her before as a woman.
No, because she was wearing the mask. As far as like he was concerned, he was a he.
She's wearing the mask in that scene?
Yeah, when she comes down to bring the medicine to him, yeah, she's wearing the mask. She's not wearing anything else, but she's wearing the mask. And like talking in her like normal voice for some. Well, I guess it's not normal. I don't even know. Her like man voice and her woman voice aren't really that different. It's just like tiny bit of a tonal shift.
So she came into the bedroom wearing nothing but the mask. Is what you're saying.
She had her clothes on, but she had the mask on.
She had a female outfit on too.
No, I don't think.
It was frilly. It like didn't look like something a man would wear.
I think didn't male shirts have like frills on them?
Maybe. I think you're reaching though.
No, I don't think I am. I think. Hold up. European shirts during the 1800s. Maybe I'm misremembering how they look. I don't know. I thought they 1800s. Oh, there's some frills on the European male shirts, like the steampunk vintage jacket, gothic Victorian ruffled blouse. Men's steampunk vintage jacket. Apparently you can order this on Amazon. Like, I think this is like what she was wearing, wasn't it?
Let me see. Yeah, something along those lines. Okay.
It was just like, it was smaller. It was a certain size for her because she is in fact female. She can't exactly go on around wearing an actual like full on like an oversized male shirt. She had to find something. And typically when it comes to like women doing that kind of thing, they do typically wear male clothing. For her though, it's kind of weird though. I would say you make that assumption based on the fact that her pants also are kind of shaped in a way that you could see she had hips. Like you could tell those were definitely not. Her body was not the fact it was that of a male. So I don't know. She was wearing the mask though, so I can only assume that he thought. That's another thing too. Like, maybe he knew, because like it doesn't seem like he's all that concerned about her gender. Which I mean, whatever. He just is indifferent. Again, she's coming from like a part of the world that places a lot of value on that. Even though the Eastern world does place some value on like if you're a woman or male. I guess it must not be that drastic over there yet. But I don't know, like it's like, I mean, I was wondering that as she was wandering around and giving him medicine.
What you were wondering?
Whether he knew she was a she or not.
He seemed surprised when he walked in on her. I mean, he could have staged that, but it seemed like real surprise to me.
But did he call out that she was a she? I don't remember him doing that.
Kenshin, when Kenshin walked in on her.
Are you talking about Kenshin?
Who are you talking about?
French sword dude.
Oh, Espilard?
Yeah.
Espilard didn't know beforehand for sure.
No, I mean last episode Kenshin didn't know.
Last episode Kenshin did know.
No, he didn't. He found out at the end of it, but he did not know that she was a. He walked in on her and was shocked that he found out that she was a she.
Right. But at that point he knew. So last episode at some point he knew.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he found out when he walked in on her.
Right.
What do you say? I don't get what you're. What? You said something about a plot hole.
No, we're good.
Are you sure? Because now I'm confused.
Yeah, we're good.
I think I started. I think I ended this conversation more confused than I started. Uh, okay. Oh, here it is. The after Domamichi, whatever his name is. Hey, you know his name? Dakamichi? Hold up. I'll get his name. Don't worry. I don't know. I'm not gonna keep mispronouncing it. I think I will as you continue with it. You have it in the notes here. I just need to find it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Dan Kichi. Oh, jeez. Okay. Dan Kichi comes and grabs Mr. Elder. Furnace takes Elder to the spot or to the destination where apparently it was already set up to meet. Espelar meets them, like stops in the middle of the road and does his technique, the Tormenta Infierne technique, which is apparently a straight thrust that's like a spiraling sword strike. That apparently the wind just tosses people in the air and spins them around. Like that's actually kind of impressive. Apparently he contorts his body, apparently, to do this technique, which I guess is like another one of those fantasy sword moves. But I mean, it's cool. It's cool to watch. He found it apparently he's strong enough to take out a giant man of a two-sided iron club with no sweat at all, which is quite impressive. But I'm glad. Like I was kind of wondering if this was like a fencer or whatever. But yeah, he's clearly a fencer. So I'm guessing. Well, not guessing. He is from Europe. I just don't know what part of Europe because I'm not sure like where fencing originated. But apparently he mastered it. At least the.
I feel like his big blue eyes should be a hint, but I don't know what they'd be a hint for.
I mean, I think all European was kind of like blue-eyed, wasn't it? For the most part.
But those are like really exaggerated blue eyes.
This is anime.
I know.
I don't know.
But I felt like his blue eyes might be trying to make some sort of point about where he's from or something with them, but I just didn't get the hint.
I mean, he could be German and just learns that sort of technique from a different country. Because German's the only hint that I would go for there. Is like they put an emphasis on blue eyes, blonde hair, which he does not have, but blue eyes for sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, he pretty much like like we've seen before. He's pretty quite competent, and he ends up like pretty much demolishing the rickshaw and hurting Takamichi in the process a little bit. Essentially grabs Elder and pretty much threatens Elder like, where is he? As a Batman looking for a Two-Face.
Where is your commissioner?
While this is happening, the scummy doctor and his little Jesus.
Sorry. Go ahead.
The doctor. Dang it. The evil doctor, scummy doctor, is like saying like his henchman's like, why are we watching this? Like, much like you, I don't trust him. I'm gonna see it with my own eyes. The guy is apparently really shocked. I was like, really, dude? How long have you been working for this dude? He doesn't trust you. You might need to find out how to work. After that, he's like, where is he? And then Kenshin shows up saying that he was looking for Elder to give the message, but it took him a while to find Elder, and then he finds him with Espelar with his hands on Elder's shirt, and then after like Kenshin shows up and says you better put him down, he puts him down, and right before he goes off to face Kenshin, he apologizes for the roughness.
Yeah,
that shocked me.
It's a hint that he's going to turn into a good guy by the end.
Well, it's not really a turning into. I think it's a hint that he's just naturally a good guy. Like he's not like the worst type of individual. He's just really he's very straightforward. which kind of funny considering that his sword is straightforward.
Hmm.
He's straightforward. He wants to do things a certain way. It's just that he might have to get rough with people to obtain his goal. So yeah, he's not that bad of an individual, which is kind of cool. I wasn't expecting that. I have expected, based on the way he looked, to be just as scummy as the person who hired him. We find out actually he's not as scummy at all. Like I'm surprised. This is another instance of the show with a swordsman being not that bad of a person. They just have a twisted worldview, but that doesn't make them necessarily a bad person.
What was the other example?
Do what's his name? The guy who was a part of, I mean, the leader of that group with Benemy or whatever his name is, the giant man that died that said Sonosuke had potential.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
got the name of the group.
I know who you mean.
But yeah, that group. That's one. So I mean, like there, like so far, there's been proof that not all people who wield a blade are bad people. And another thing too is that you also hear throughout this fight that he's concerned about. He is also concerned about the era of swordsmen and it disappearing, which is another common thing. We're constantly being reminded that eventually wandering around with a sword is like really gonna be impossible at some point because not everybody's gonna be out there training to use the sword. At least not in the way that that they were needed at first. Again, current time is not really legal to run around with a sword in Japan. You could do it, but you'd be probably put in jail. But yeah, they start their fight. He pretty much lunges at him with sword techniques, and he pretty much threatens Kenshin to. He threatens Kenshin to start fighting him with pointing the sword at Elder. Kenshin gives in and says, "Okay, this is what you want." He thrusts at him with his technique. Kenshin blocks it. Well, not block. He dodges backwards. Apparently, just enough time that the sword can't reach him. And apparently, that shocks Espelar enough that he decides to go. He decides to go for his ultimate technique. Which
Which is in
apparently,
Spanish, by the way.
huh?
Which is in Spanish, by the way. So he's probably Spanish.
Well, Spain's over there in the European countries.
Yeah, but when we were trying to figure out where he was from, and you said France or Spain or something like that, the Destormilador Sable Estilo is the corkscrew saber style, screwdriver saber style.
Well,
It translates to that.
I want to know then. I always assumed fencing might have been French, but maybe I'm wrong about that too.
The Spaniard in Princess Bride is Spanish and a fencer.
Wait a minute, what? This, okay, what I'm looking at right now, apparently it might be Italian in origin.
It's Spanish.
No, what I'm talking about is the fencing, not the attack name.
Oh.
The Italian school altered the historical European martial art of classical fencing, and the French school later refined its system. Oh, so they went through a few changes. Okay. But now we see it's like a little bit more harmless. You're just poking somebody with the dull end of a saucer. History of fencing. So I'm just trying to look this up. I like to. Huh. Weird. Uh, looks like some of the earliest apparently might have been in Germany. Like 1300 in Germany.
Hmm.
So I think there's like different types of like countries, types of like fencing, because like they talk about the Italian school of fencing, will become more popular later on. Yeah, so this freaking this is goes to a lot of countries to eventually where I guess where the fencing we know of today might actually just be from France. But that doesn't really mean he can't go to France to learn. He obviously wants somewhere to learn because apparently he contorts his body in this really weird shape to um to optimize his spinning the spinning rotational force that he thrusts forward, and apparently he contorted himself so much that when he does this technique he ends up flying forward like literally flying forward. Kenshin literally sits there and then blocks it with with the sheath of his blade, again the sheath being the ultimate MVP here, and Kenshin goes spinning, and then right as the end of the, I guess at the apex of the spin, he draws a sword and it sends him flying, breaks his fencing blade, and wins
And
the fight.
there's a little moment in there at 11:57 where, like a frame or two, where it looks like blood comes out. So for a second, like because I saw that for a second, I thought he was using the sharp edge of his sword, and I was like, "What?" But then you see the guy fly back, and like he doesn't seem cut or injured. So I don't know what that.
I mean, internal damage. Just because Kenshin isn't
What?
cutting you doesn't mean he can't like smash a rib or something.
Yeah, it's just kind of odd. Like he doesn't. He gets up and he doesn't seem particularly injured. He's able to dive and catch the bottle later on. Like he doesn't seem particularly disabled, but he something's happened. You know what I mean? And I don't know what it is.
I mean, I will see internal injury. I think Kenshin just hit him hard enough that maybe a rib broke or something like that. Because it's not like Kenshin hasn't done that before.
Yeah.
But after that, after he breaks his sword, he apparently loses his will to fight, and he says, "Well, if I had to die by somebody, I'm glad it's you." Kenshin, his sister, says, "You fool! Like I can't kill anybody. Look at my sword. Look at this I mean, but he shows him the sword is like the sword side of the sword he hit him with, it was dull, it was like, you know, not sharp at all, and he was like, "Oh, I see." Apparently after this point, I forgot to mention this too. As the fight was going on, he mentions that, you know, the soul of the samurai is in their blade. So like when he sees Kenshin's blade, or his soul, I guess you would say, I guess he's like, "Huh, I see now." He's like defeated, and you know, I guess like he's broken. I guess his soul as a samurai has been broken, literally. Um, after all this is taken care of, the fight's over with. The dirty doctor decides to get involved. And you guessed it, to get away, he wants to throw the smallpox bottle he has on him. And I'm just sitting here, and then he played this like hot potato game with a bottle of like smallpox, because like Elder decides to die for it, ends up getting pulled back a little bit by the doctor, and not Kenshin, Doc Michi decides to go after it, ends up like tossing in the air again, and the doctor's like, "Haha, I'm gonna let this break now," and then all of a sudden, Espelar, Espelar, I guess it's like Espelar grabs it and he says, "Don't you sully my loss with this." I'm like, I was like wondering who's gonna get hit with smallpox. Like,
I was expecting Kenshin to be the one that caught it, but it wasn't.
yeah, I was expecting that too at some point, but I guess Kenshin was like, maybe not all that concerned. Maybe he knew that the guy was gonna catch it. I guess, I don't know.
Maybe he just couldn't catch it. But I felt like with it bouncing all over the place, Kenshin should have had time to run and get there.
Well, I mean, now like now they got the it was about to break. That was crazy though. That was probably the most intense like few minutes of this episode was just a smallpox vial. The sword fighting wasn't, but the potential epidemic that could have like been brought upon that small town was the most intense few minutes of this episode I've ever seen. Probably the entire show.
Yeah.
Just imagine, it's like, oh no, and like, boop. Oh, we're safe. Okay, someone catch it. Oh no, boop. No one can catch it for the life of them. But yeah, it's like after that, he pretty much arrests the guy. Well, the doctor tries to get away, and then he gets hit with the broken wheel from the rickshaw by the puller. And the manager of Explorer says, like, I got a chance to see a good sword fight. I'm good. So you can arrest me. That guy was really weird to me. It's like he only really cared about getting his, I guess, this guy a fight, and that was all he was there for. I was like, I'm not gonna get involved in this. Like, I give up. After that, the next day, as we were talking about earlier, we see Esplar is waking up from being with a bandage on his head. Wakes up, and Elder is there with some medicine. And now Esplar is kind of conflicted and lost now that he's like, lost his way, quote unquote. They first go to a conversation back and forth of like, that you can have another dream. You don't have to like give up on continuing to get stronger. Which that was nice, the guy wasn't that bad of an individual, which again was shocking to me, considering the way he looked.
Mm-hmm.
Most characters with those wide eyes that look like they want to kill you and just kind of unsettling. It's kind of shocking that, okay, you're not that bad of an individual. I'm still kind of very confused if he realized or even cared about the raw identity of the doctor.
I think he respected him enough, right?
Well, yeah, but I was just kind of like, huh. I mean, he was more sulking about like, how he lost the fight. He says,
Yeah.
even if I do heal, I had no reason to live. This is kind of dark, kind of. But then the doctor kind of gives him like a little pep talk, saying, you can keep on going. Essentially, what leads to him having a smaller goal of just living and getting stronger, which is nice and cool. It's like, and I don't know. This is filler. I feel like this is kind of filler. So I don't know this character's ever gonna come back. Either one of them. But it'd be kind of cool to see a fencer come back and actually. It'd be kind of
Does it need
interesting.
to be called filler just because the characters don't come back though?
Well, I mean, I don't think this has any real impact on the story though. But then again, I mean, with the scarring thing,
most of the
maybe
characters
it
in this
isn't.
series
Hmm?
Most of the characters in this series are not going to come back. Like every single episode introduces a character, or every or set of 2 episodes introduces a character that's probably not coming back.
At the first 5, I mean, we got Yaiko from that, Karu, Sanosuke, and they keep coming back.
Yeah, the main characters in the show are coming back, but outside of that, I don't know if I can say that.
I mean, I only say filler as a statement of like it doesn't really have a huge impact on the story. But then again, they bring up the scarring thing, and I feel like that's supposed to be a hint at some later story that we're gonna get at Wholesome. Maybe it's not really filler, because this did happen to Kenshin, even though it was like 5 days after him becoming a Rurouni. That entire time, I thought that was like maybe almost a year or two. No, that was recent. We'll get to that in a minute. But after all that, after Esplar heals, they pretty much Kenshin goes to see Esplar and Elder off because they're gonna go back to the. It sounded like they're gonna go to the United States, but I'm guessing they're going back to Europe, where where they came from. Kenshin sees them off, and Esplar goes and says, "I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make sure you get to your destination, and then I will go on my own way." Elder doesn't seem too keen on that, but then gives in anyway, and he first goes off to take care of the pre-departure, I guess, agenda really quick, and then right before Elder decides to go off, kind of gives Kenshin the whole spiel about like you should really actually rest, sit in one place for a while and like really heal. Friendly connects the whole he's not being able to smell anything. So I don't know if maybe just another, just there's a bigger injury in Kenshin that we don't know about. I don't know. Because smelling, the whole nose thing kind of is kind of weird and out of left field. Because they don't really go any further with it. They kind of make it sound like a big deal. At least Megumi makes it sound like a bigger deal. When we go back to present day. But, you know, I'd be like, pretty much like promise him to, if the next person that needs you to stay, like you just sit there and stay. Which we know later on, that's Karu. Which I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. They kind of gave an explanation towards why he had a sudden change of heart. As I said earlier, like it's kind of a cool thing that they kind of gave purpose to versus it just being like Kenshin deciding to, well, I'm not gonna make it out of here in time. I might as well just stay in the dojo. It wasn't like an on the whim thing. He kind of like promised somebody that he would like stay at the next person that needed him to stay. I guess one last thing, the Espelar ends up showing that, you know, he's going to keep practicing swordsmanship and he's going to do it with a blunt instrument, with a straight fencing sword. I thought that was kind of cool.
It's not a blunt instrument; it's a straight sword.
That was a joke that he made there, but I'm not gonna make it.
No, there's no blunt. It's not a blunt sword. It's a real sword. It's just straight instead of the spirals.
I thought it was a. Oh no, he's like Elder is going to the United States. I'm just not okay. I did not. I was wondering about that. That's interesting. So it's already been settled by this point. What was happening during the 1800s in the United States?
What was happening in the 1800s in the United States?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get like a. I'm just trying to get a grasp. Like, okay, I wonder why she's heading down there.
I don't know. Railways were being built.
There's nothing important. Maybe she's just wandering around like she's been doing. Okay, but apparently she's going to the United States, which is, I guess, that's confirmed. I guess another little thing, another little small thing before she ends up leaving, and we guess we never see her again. Kenshin brings the fact that, you know, you helped out a lot of people, and then we see that the town is going to see her off. They also think that she's a he, and he yells out in her real voice, and it catches everybody off guard. And Tank, she takes her mask off.
Called her hot instantly.
Yeah, he says like it's a hot chick. I was like, okay, she might got a shot if she comes back. Was like it catches everybody off guard, and he's just like, oh, like she waves and, you know, she disappears. And we come back after the credits roll. Which, yes, I did stay after the credits this time. Made sure.
Very good.
I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better. At the credits, you know, everybody's asking Kenshin questions like, wait, how long ago did this happen? 5 days before I started staying at the Kamiya Dojo. Everybody was like, what? So, see, he was apparently 5 days away from Tokyo at that point. Funny. He was like, I didn't tell you I was going to tell you a story from back from way, like, in my past. And everybody's like, fair point. I was like, you sly dog, using wordplay. How dare you? But sly. But still, how dare you? I think at some point we're gonna learn about that past that he's been avoiding. But you pretty much said, then Megumi says that just one part of the story, which you brought up the whole tea. What is that about? Because she, you know, grabs his face. Well, grabs his arm first, and then his face. And then she's like, "Well, I mean, he could smell the tea now, so I guess it's not a big deal." I don't like how ominous that was. It's probably nothing, but it's like, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird.
Smallpox affect your sense of smell?
But the bottle didn't break. How he gotten infected? And the bottle didn't get uncorked either. And how the doctor would like be wandering around with an actual open bottle of smallpox.
Yeah, it says smallpox typically does not directly affect a person's sense of smell.
Also, if that was the case, I think he'd be dying. I mean, I know it isn't an immediate death, but
It's two doctors that noticed it, which is why I wonder.
well, I know a little about the scar, and now the smelling and everything. I don't really know. I mean, both doctors mentioned that, like, well, at least one doctor mentions that, like, you apparently are holding on to something that's not allowing that to heal. You know, it's like she didn't say those exact words, but she was kind of hinting at it. And the Kenshin, being him, is like, yeah, like I want to hold on to this because I guess it makes me a better person. I guess. But yeah.
Or it's what he deserves. I always interpret it as he sees that as what he deserves. That he deserves to live with his what he's done.
I mean, we did see it. We did see a little bit of back when he was manslayer when he was younger, and he didn't have that scar on his face. I actually want to point that out too. I guess now we've seen a little bit more, a little bit more younger Kenshin. Um, I find it intriguing that like a lot of the swordsmen, you know, the people who practice swordsmanship, like some of them, at least the three that we've seen, one of them was just a outright. I mean, all of them had an issue with swords, you know, the age of swords going away. Um, they all had their own way of dealing with it, you know. Shoot, what is his name?
Oh,
I'll get it. Ayoshi, he made an entire band of like he made a family essentially, you know, helped everybody else out that, you know, after the war they were like they needed something to do, somewhere to go. He made a family with them. Um that last guy we dealt with that was like that little kid's master, quote unquote, but you know, took his like left arm away. He was concerned with the age of swords, but he was a kind of a douche about it. And then we have I mean, Espelar, who was kind of concerned and wanted to fight the strongest swordsman he could, to get stronger to keep it going. You know, they all had their own. They were all kind of concerned. At least I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Ayoshi. He never brought it up, but maybe he was. I don't really know. But at least two of them were kind of concerned, but they all had their own. They had their own way. Like that's basically what I'm trying to get at. Is like each swordsman kind of seemed like straightforward, kind of in their own really weird way, for better or for worse. Kind of like how Kenshin, I would say Kenshin kind of was when he was younger. You know, before he had his change of heart, he was kind of like straightforward. Um, when that guy, the older gentleman, asked Kenshin like, would you be able to kill with the Heitan Mitsurugi style?" And he's like, Kenshin was like, "Yes." You know, he pretty much gave a straight answer, yes. You know, with no hemming and hawing. He was very serious about it, very straightforward about it. And if something happens and Kenshin changes tune, but like Kenshin was kind of like that too in a really weird way. You know, he was like straightforward person, believing he believed in what he was doing, and something he encounters somebody or something down his road that changes his path to becoming the Rurouni, you know, and leaving the manslayer path behind. Because like it sounds like to me, Kenshin wouldn't have would probably kept on killing people, but something happened that changed his mind.
mm-hmm.
It didn't seem like Kenshin believes that what he did was wrong, but sounds like to me it's like back when he was doing it, it didn't seem like it bothered him all that much. I mean, when that gentleman, that other swordsman is like claiming to be a manslayer, and Kenshin called him out saying that you never killed anybody in your life. I mean, he just sat there, stared him in his straight in his face, telling me you had never killed anybody, and it wasn't like Kenshin was like crying about it, or he was just being dead serious. He just that whole shift in his personality just took over. You know, the mask came down. You know, it was like
Yeah,
one of those like Kenshin was very serious. He didn't seem to have too many qualms with killing people necessary. You know, but it was like, you know, it's not like Kenshin enjoyed it, but it was something that Kenshin knew he was capable of doing. And he probably could if he really wanted to go back to do it again. Like
if he
something happened to him and his entire worldview changed, because when he was a kid, when he was younger, he was dead serious. I mean, I think every single scene of him was like of him being dead serious. But now he's like kind of a goofy, wandering dude who just like catches people off guard with how wise he is sometimes.
And how goofy he can be.
Which I think is interesting in of its own right.
When
But
you talk about when we talk about the true Kenshin, we often reference like him being serious, like in a battle kind of capacity. But I think it's important to remember that Kenshin is also um, he has some real moments, not necessarily serious moments, but he has some real moments around Karu where he smiles at her and gives her an authentic smile. Like you saw that in this episode where he like looks back at her and he smiles, and they kind of reference the, you know what I mean, when you find something that makes you pause, then settle down with it, you know what I mean. That was the advice that he'd gotten right before he came there. And I don't know, I think that Karu is like has a little bit of a hold on him now, and you're seeing that love relationship kind of brimming. He's not acting on it, but he definitely feels it. We know that by the way he protects her and everything else. And she has incredible potential too, because she's had some natural holdover chi because she was able to break that bond. So she's a very impressive woman.
no, I could agree with that. I would just like, I mean, yeah, the whole series. I just kind of find it impressive animation wise that like I don't think a lot of animators could pull it off. I'm not sure who's animating this show, but like they really do a good job. Usually when transformations happen, and I guess like Kenshin's personality shift is kind of like equivalent to a transformation, but most transformations take like a physical form, and like you can just like a drastic change. Like I mean, I hate to keep referencing Dragon Ball Z, but I think Dragon Ball Z is a good example of like a transformation that takes a physical form. It's a drastic change. It's like, you know, Goku Super Saiyan for the first time, he gets really freaking serious. Like Kenshin is like he's like fighting his previous self while making sure he keeps control of who he is or who he wants to be. And it's like whenever it does come down to saving somebody, he'll like, if it requires it, he will go back to his original ways of fighting, and it's kind of scary sometimes. I mean, again with Karu, like again with that whole like she's worth him staying for. When he first, I mean, in that whole brimming love thing, when she first got in danger after like with that one guy who came back from his past, um, Kitchen literally lost it there, and pretty much shifted right back to how he was before. And it took Cairo to snap him out of it after she freed herself from the I guess you call that a strangle technique or whatever, like a paralyzation technique. I don't really know like how much power she has. I'm pretty sure she doesn't really have any really. It just kind of like she was able to break free because she studied swords play. I don't even know the Kamiya
Swordplay
Dojo has any real techniques. What?
Swordplay allowed her to tap into chi and erupt with mana, powerful mana that most people could not do. Sounds like not true. I think there's more potential to her than we see.
I'm just, I don't remember her being really involved in the actual fight. Then again, I don't know how much of what I initially watched of the show was like them from the manga source material or them needing to make new stuff because they got caught up. And unfortunately, instead of waiting, decided to just do their own canon. I don't even know. Maybe there is, I don't know. I just don't. To me, she's like is like a love interest at the same time as like maybe being grounding for Kenshin. Maybe no more than that, from what I can tell. I mean, yes, she broke free from that technique, that's for sure, and she broke free from the strongest version of that technique. But then again, I mean, he isn't like the guy. He wasn't really the strongest guy in the book. Like, I mean, like I think Haru broke from it out of shock. Cause I think Kenshin get taken down at some point. Maybe she did. I don't even remember. don't remember exactly what happened in that fight, but I mean, yeah, she did break free. I'm not taking that away from her. I'm just saying I don't really know how far they're going to take that whole. She broke free from that technique because she hasn't had to do it again recently. And if they do something again with her, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked because they already shown something of it happening before. But I can't imagine they're going to do it. I don't know for what purpose, considering they're trying to build up Yahiko.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what purpose of her being. I mean, like I said, if she gets into a fight, I mean, I'm really for her, and I like to see it happen. But it's like I don't remember there's any real fights. But then again, I don't remember that cat-eyed kid. And there's a couple of characters I don't remember. I didn't even remember Megumi. And yeah, she shows up out of nowhere.
She's been a pretty stable character.
I'm just mad that I don't remember her. And the worst part is why I'm so mad is that she's kind of important. She's a freaking doctor. I'm just like, why did she skip, like, raise my, like, not, like, it's just very confusing to me. It's like, why did I forget about her? And that's really just bugging me a little bit, but I'm not gonna look into it. It's just, I happened to forget about her and she showed up again. I'll just make sure not to forget about her in the future. I didn't think she was gonna come back either, and then she does a couple times. So she's kind of part of the cast. She's like a side character. I guess with that, we're getting this episode off. Next week, we're going to be reviewing episode 22, Resurrection of the Wolf. And it looks like Karu is in the thumbnail. So I don't know what any of that means. Just have to find out then. See you guys then. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.